So I hope all of you enjoyed that last episode of Game of Thrones as much as I did. I know there's going to be so much feedback, so much negative feedback. Even before the episode already came out, there was already so much negative feedback as far as hiring people to rewrite the whole season, the season 8. And I think if they were upset anytime before that, this last episode is probably going to push everybody over the cliffs, literally, because it was definitely not what I was going to be expecting. And trust me, this episode is not about Game of Thrones, but it was exciting. And I'm doing this on the Sunday right after Game of Thrones. But, and I loved it. Because it was exactly what I was expecting, and the perfect ending to it. One thing I did have come out with a lot of ending shows, the last episode of shows, is that they're never gonna be what you expect or what the popular majority is expecting. Is that you have to imagine that they have to put an end to the show somehow, or put it away somehow, or kind of either keep it going. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So I enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did too. But even before that, though, we had a chance to sit down with Jake Watson. Jake sat back with us sometime last year, for a few episodes ago, probably about 10 episodes ago. So go back and listen to it. He's an awesome guy. He's a local, very active competitor here in the Valley in Arizona. And he's under a brown belt under Marakawa BJJ here in Gilbert. So we had an awesome time, and I invited him back just to cover a couple topics that we discuss on DMs back and forth, and if we see each other. And it's just topics that, we go over tournaments, his favorite tournaments, what his expectations of tournaments, and our expectations of tournaments, coaches, and Ryan as a team competitor now, what his expectations are. We do talk a little bit about the Flavio Almeida podcast and the incident. We don't get into details about that too, but we do discuss some of the feedback that we got and some negative feedback from it, but also a lot of support that came out of that. I think it was a really eye opener for people to sit down, and even the past episodes of the podcast after with Professor Flavio, we never discussed it or anything, and we kind of talk about it a little bit, and we get into PEDs and jiu-jitsu, so it's a lot of fun. We cover a lot of different kind of topics, so it's going to be bound to be something that you're going to be interested in. So anyways, guys, so hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe on iTunes. And this episode's going to be up on YouTube also. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Definitely helps support the channel. And subscribe there too.
What is this?
The show is about nothing. It's about a man and his kid.
Does he have superpowers too?
That in the jiu-jitsu kid.
He's just a special kid.
You are now DQ'd.
Fight!
All right, so it's been a hot minute since we've actually put on an episode. It's been our last episode was with Master Carlson about a month ago, and just like everything else, life happens. And Ryan and I always go through this with we'll be gone for a month, or we'll put like 2-3 episodes on in 1 month, and then we'll be gone for an entire month, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, we're gonna be more consistent, and then something like always happens. It's and it's so hard to get a schedule going when you have guests trying to come in on a Saturday, and especially, I mean, Jake coming in again today for the second time.
Are you complaining?
No, I'm not. It is. I'm like, who had a list like, oh dang, let's go back to Jake.
That's show business, baby. Good.
No, but thanks again for coming out with us and meeting and sitting down with Ryan and I. But yeah, it's been, we put out, we haven't put anything out for over a month. And just like our conversation, I mean, we just, everything's coming out. We got tournaments that happen, and then, vacations, we got graduations coming. So it's always something coming up, and we got, I think we communicated back and forth a couple times, and you said, just tell me when and where, send me the location.
Send me location. I don't care.
Just be there.
I come to podcast.
So
anytime.
let's do it, man, because it's and people think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a podcast and I'm gonna start a podcast and I'm gonna do this, and it's the best thing ever if anybody wants to do a podcast. Totally, I'm always 100% like, do it, man, do it, absolutely do it. But it's a lot of freaking work.
Oh, for sure,
man. It's so because it's not like it's a business or anything. You know, we do it for fun. We do it because I like, exposing him to, to great people, the guests that we've had, but just getting to know people that, in the area, and especially that have the same interests that we do.
For sure. We have jiu-jitsu in common, and that's just about enough, right?
That's all you need.
That's all you need,
Seems out, man.
I really enjoy coming. I mean, I know you, ever since the first time I came on here, I always was itching to come back because you guys are just easy to talk to. And
Yeah, it was fun.
being on a podcast is a very fun time because it's like an interview that's more casual. It's like, if you want to get information out of me, you don't have to be like, so Jake Watson, tell me about your first time doing jiu-jitsu. And then I got to be like, my first time doing jiu-jitsu went like this. No, you can just be like, all right, bro, level with me for a second. Jiu-jitsu. You dig it or not? And it's like more of a casual feel to it. I know that was a little dramatic, but it was more of it's like podcasts are just easier because it just feels like we're talking like friends rather than.
Yeah, and I like it. And that's the thing is I hate that. I mean, I like, we've had a couple of like the critics that are not fans of the shows or something, or that are fans like, hey, why don't you do this? Because we've even had friends of ours that are like, you should ask these questions, and it goes back to the our biggest podcast, which was the Professor Flavio Almeida podcast, and which was it was received very well. But man, you talk about bringing people out of the woodworks to be like
to hate.
To like not just to hate, not just just on him, but because they were like, you should have done this or that sucked because you didn't ask questions about why are they doing this. I'm like, I'm not a freaking journalist. I'm just a guy with a kid trying to share. Obviously this person here has a great deal of knowledge about jiu-jitsu and life's philosophical ways. I mean, did you not listen to the other hour of the podcast? How awesome he is! Like he's just a good guy and just family guy, and talks a great philosophy about not just jiu-jitsu, just life in general. And he goes, you're stuck on an action of this happened, and it was a 20. I think that part was maybe about 20-minute conversation about that led into something else. But I'm not going to make a whole 2-hour podcast about that.
Yeah.
And it's, that's what you want. That's not what the hell this freaking podcast is about. And it was the same thing with y'all wouldn't want to, like, so Jake, you lost to so-and-so again and so-and-so then. What happened? And
then I'm going to say, listen. And then I'm going to tell you all about it. I might cry. People are really, not generally people, but there are some people who are quick to critique, and they will just nitpick one little thing and act like it took over the entire podcast. Like, oh, he said that. I no longer enjoy this. I'm clicking off and I'm unsubscribing. And that's how people sometimes, generally not everybody, but there's some people who act like that. And I mean, granted, I feel like Flavio is a very, very, he's a good man. I mean, it's very unfortunate to hear what happened to him. I don't even understand it. It's just a horrible thing that happened. And I feel like it doesn't deserve, if someone does deserve to have that happen to them, it's definitely not Flavio. And he's always been very, very kind to me. I never even really formally met him before he was putting my name in to have a super fight in Arizona at the IBJJF Phoenix Open that we had. He recommended, hey, you need to get this kid on there. And it felt very gratifying. And it made me feel very happy to know that he had noticed me, even though necessarily I might even be a competitor to him. To his students, you know what I mean? So I've always seen him as a great guy, and I'm glad that you're bringing people like that. Especially, you're a very lucky kid, Mr. Ryan, because man, I remember when I was how old are you?
13.
13. When I was 13, let's see. Wow, I didn't even know any jiu-jitsu celebrities back when I was 13 because I was doing MMA. But I remember the first time I saw Buchecha, man, that guy I was like 16 years old, and I saw him. I turned around, and the first time I ever had to look up at a human and then notice who they were. It was Buchecha, just this Hulk. He's just this larger than life behemoth of a man. And I remember just being like instantly like, oh my God, that's Buchecha. I'm never like that, like a tourist. I don't really feel that now. I feel like, oh man, I'm used to being around different like jiu-jitsu, higher, notoriety competitors. But back then it was so crazy. So you getting that opportunity to really envelope yourself in the company and the knowledge of all these people is really, really cool. And I think it's cool that you're doing that. And people need to realize that the purpose of the show is kind of in the name of the show.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Dad and the jiu-jitsu kid. And it's not professional journalist and his equally intelligent son.
Is somewhat. Yeah, but I mean, what did you think about? And I definitely don't want to make the podcast about that, but I mean, you kind of, Ryan, you kind of understand like what I'm talking about, because you and I shared with you a couple like we got this feedback, this is the kind of feedback we got back.
You're always really open about.
Yeah, and I know like okay, I'm like nah, I'm not gonna change anything about that. I'm not here to, so you know, and I'll tell us, and I said it on the I think I mentioned it on the podcast before, is that we had arranged a meeting before it happened. We were supposed to meet. And then that happened, and I'm like, man, I don't want to ask because I don't want him to think like, oh, yeah, I want to know about this. And I sent out, and and he's like, oh yeah, and I even and he said, yeah, totally, let's meet. You know, I told him I'll come to your academy still. We'll meet. I'll drive up there. We'll meet on whatever time you need to. And I even messaged him. I said, hey, if you don't want to discuss anything, don't even worry about it. He's like, no, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay. And I mean, it's 30 minutes in when the conversation came up where I still didn't feel comfortable because I don't like putting people in that position.
Yeah.
And because even before that, we were on the mat talking, just kind of, getting to know each other, warming up a little bit. And so here's this guy inviting, from another team and sitting at his academy, interviewing him, or having him as a guest at a podcast at his place on the date of Fight to Win, for one. And also, two, where his guys were competing. And we went almost 2 hours. We finished at 3:00. And he had to be I think it started, doors open like at 4:50, almost like 5:00.
Oh my gosh.
So he he taught class all that day, and he sat, I'm like looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my God, it's been an hour and a half. And he's talking, like just talking.
Oh, that's really cool.
Right? Exactly.
It's very cool that he's like, he's that kind of, he always striked me as the kind of guy who's just willing to open up and share wisdom. And he probably has very good time awareness too.
Yeah.
He probably knows how long it's going to take him to get back to the gym. In his head, he's got a timer. He's like, I'm about ready to stop talking. And goodbye, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, don't let the door hit your way up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had it, and I forgot where even that thing was going, and it was a conversation that I think you and I kind of talked about a little bit just briefly before. So yeah, so it's been a lot of, even since you've been on, a lot of like, okay, what's going to work for the show? What's going to work for this too? And also too, man, you've got some changes going on too. And you've got not just at the tattoo I just saw on your arm when you walked in. I felt like a parent. I'm like, what did you do to yourself?
Yeah, I also hit puberty. No, yeah, I got a tattoo, a big arm sleeve dedicated to my beautiful mom, who has been in my life since I was.
And we got to know her really well in our last podcast.
You did. Yeah. You got to know her through me, and I got this tattoo in commemoration of her. It's a phoenix. It's a Japanese traditional phoenix, and the story of the phoenix is that at the end of a phoenix's life, it will burst into flames and turn into ash, and then a more beautiful phoenix than before will emerge from the ash, not axe. So I took that and I said in my head when I met my mother, who, by the way, in between now and the last podcast, I was legally adopted by her. So yes, people at home, thank you for applauding. I appreciate it. I do love my mom. Thank you. And I got this tattoo to commemorate not only that, but also her as a human being. And I like to think of it like my dad and my brother and I emerged from a rough living situation, and we came to Arizona, and my mom met my dad and they started dating. And she basically kind of took the backpack of motherhood and put it right on her back, and she didn't care how heavy it was, and just said, okay, I'm a mom now, so you're my kid now. And I was like, oh, I'm cool with that. And ever since then, we've just been tight. Like, my mom and I have the best relationship, and I'm really grateful to have my parents. So I thought, I've always wanted to have a tattoo since I was 14. Even when I was 14, I told my tattoo artist, who I've known since then.
I was going to say, wait, when you were 14?
Josh, well, no, I didn't get this when I was 14. That'd have been the greatest cover-up story ever if I just had this the whole time. And I knew. But I told him, I was like, listen, I want to get a sleeve one day from you. And he was like, all right, I'm going to hold you to that. And then we got it done. And the rest is history. I mean, I'm still working on it. It's really painful. I get about 2.5-hour sessions, and every time I'm pretty much done by the end of it. I think I'd rather roll buchecha with one leg than get a tattoo for an hour.
I know, man. I remember when I got mine, when I first turned 18, and then I got the arms, and then I got my legs done, and then never went back to finish my legs. And I'm like, golly, do I regret? I don't. I wish I. I mean, I like them. I like the story behind like that phase of my
never
life.
Told me about like the story behind the
Well, no, I
tattoos.
mean, it's not like and like each of them don't have a story like, oh, I got this because of spring break or this because of so-and-so.
Whoa, what happened in spring break?
So it was nothing like that, but it was like the times in that period of like, okay, this was a period of my life, or like,
Yeah.
you know,
I think that's a healthy way to treat tattoos, because regardless, okay, let's say I got a tattoo of at some event that happened, or it reminds me of something that I liked in my youth, right? Let's say I got a tattoo, I'm 18 years old and I really like a video game, and I get a tattoo about that video game. At 34, I shouldn't look at that and be like, man, it's so stupid. I should look at it like, that is a chapter of my life
that
I'm very fond of. I made friends, I had fun, it was something I loved. It's a part of who I am, just as a tattoo is a part of who you are. The ink is what's a part of you, and then the art is what signifies what makes you think of things. So it's, for me, I think like, and that's why it's a very heavy topic. My mother, I love my mother to death, and I would never regret this tattoo, even if I looked at the beak and was like, oh, the beak is wrong, but it's not. Now you're looking at it, right? Nothing's wrong with the beak. The beak is, every part of this tattoo is fantastic. But you get what I'm saying. Even if later I look at it and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have done this. What matters is that I did it, and that it means a lot to me. So
yeah, and I always got to like where my sister has tattoos, and you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't regret them. I don't wish like, okay, I shouldn't have got it. I should have got this differently. And like you know, it's not like it's not cool to me anymore. It's not, because every once in a while I'm like, man, I wonder if I should get a tattoo. Like
You should finish your leg one. Finish it.
the flame one?
The flame one. Yeah, it was a big old art piece. And it's basically just like yours. You just got just like the outlines.
Yeah.
That's all as far as I ever got to it, really. Never got to the whole thing. I definitely don't have the drawing.
I have a feeling that after this podcast, you're going to feel this certain...
The itch.
Yeah, we
this
have to
lingering
go.
itch to go, because you're like, man, I talked with Jake Watson about this tattoo, and now Jake Watson has inspired me through his own beautiful artwork.
You could finish your tattoos together.
Okay, let's not get carried away there, Ryan. What are you talking about over there? Does you want to go to? I get tattooed at Dame of the West Tattoo in Scottsdale. It's a beautiful tattoo shop run by Josh Carter, and he is he's been tattooing forever. He actually, one time he got a sleeve and he got it all removed, and they got another sleeve on top of it.
Oh my gosh. They lasered off?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
They literally just erased it.
Well, yeah, that's intense, but he's very, very talented. He did this, the Phoenix he stenciled, and everything else he freehand drew. So it's like, you know, Japanese traditional tattooing looks, it's like it fits my aesthetic. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
But to some people, they're like, oh, it looks like a coloring book. I'm like, all right, well, it's an outline. Of course it looks like a coloring book. I haven't got it filled in yet.
Yeah. And even aside from that, man, you are coming off a huge win. Last weekend, 2 weeks. When was that? When was San Diego Open?
San Diego Open was last weekend.
Last weekend, right?
So you
had San Jose.
The way it worked. When was the month that I came on this podcast? That was last year, 2018, right?
I think it was.
It was towards the end of the year.
It's towards the end of 2018. So so far the tournaments I've done this year, I have done 8 tournaments. I've done, and the reason I say 8 is because the gi and no gi tournaments for the IBJJF, I count as 2 tournaments for sure, because you're doing a whole nother bracket, and also it's at the highest, what would be a high level. Like, it's not, if I did gi and no gi in Arizona, I consider it one, not because I don't believe we're high level, I really do, but because it doesn't take me 4 hours to get to the event, or 5 or 6 hours to get to the event. I'm fighting people that I usually know. Like, I usually have fought these people 6 or 7 times before. So at the end of the day, it's less stress on me to compete, because I know who I'm fighting. So that's not me disparaging anybody in Arizona, because I believe that we actually have an incredibly high level state. Like, it's really cool. And I think we're going to get into that a little bit later in the podcast. But I think that because I don't know who I'm fighting, I treat it differently. I have to treat it like no matter who it is, if I've never seen their name, I don't know who they are. they could, kill me.
Yeah.
And I would be like, wow, this guy's amazing.
Yeah,
But
you don't know if there's this one guy visiting from Brazil and his first
Exactly.
time thing. Who were just
Exactly.
And you always hear stories. There's a bunch of killers over there that just
yeah.
jumping at the bit to come out here for one chance to.
Yeah, like you hear about it all the time. And so I consider those two. So I've done 8. I did Orange County. I've been doing pretty good this year. I won my first IBJJF Open Division in San Jose since 2014. I haven't won the Open Division in an IBJJF tournament since Nogi Worlds when I was a juvenile. I won my division and the Open Division. And then after that, I won the Nogi Open at San Diego 2 or 3 weeks later. So I've been keeping a good streak going. Like I feel very good in competition. I feel strong. I feel the fruits of my labor coming to fruition. It's all coming together at a good point before Worlds. But I'm more than anything, I'm just excited to compete. Like I love the feeling of going out there and just truly testing myself. And I really like that I can feel my improvement from the changes that I've made. I've been drilling a lot more with Cade Roque, who is a blue belt at my gym, who's a fantastic training partner. He's becoming very good in his own right. And me and him have been working very, very hard. I've been coaching a lot, but I believe that's helped me. I don't think that's a crutch or a hindrance for me. I feel like actually it makes me a better competitor. And I've been lifting with Tim McClellan, who, for anybody who is a strength and conditioning aficionado, I guess is the right word. He's incredibly knowledgeable. He trained Kendall Cross to win the Olympic gold medal in wrestling. And he's trained Donovan McNabb. He's trained these NFL elite athletes. And I've been very, very fortunate. My buddy at the gym, who is a blue belt, judo black belt, Urban Kieran, is best friends with Tim. And I got the connection. And man, it's just been a huge blessing for me to.
How do you feel that's incorporated? Because I see that a lot as people incorporating strength training into it. And was there something specific that made you want to try that route?
So I have been strength and conditioning training since I was like 15 years old. I was with Jason Kamens, who is a fantastic trainer, but it just the timing didn't work. He has been training Ryan Bader, CB Dalloway, working with some of the guys at 8
Actually, I think
Strong,
Ryan
Power MMA.
Ryan went and got a couple training sessions before football when football was going on. And
Nice, yeah. With Jason.
Yeah, with Jason.
He's an amazing, amazing coach. I'm very grateful to have been able to work with him as well. But there's a timing didn't work out. So I was going through some other trainers for, just trying to see who else I would go to, because I believe that myself, I work much better being told what to do, because I feel like I would overthink what I'm doing, right? I work very well in an environment where I'm being coached, because I feel like I have that. I like to develop that relationship. It makes it easier for me to work hard. And knowing that, I eventually stumbled on, luckily, awesomely stumbled on Tim McClellan. And I do believe it's incredibly important. I believe that at the highest level, people are strong, man. Like there's the anomaly of people who don't work out and they do great. But I just think to keep healthy, to also be in the right state of mind. I feel like when I'm working hard and I'm eating right, and eating is my biggest struggle, but I'll get into that in a minute. When I'm working out very hard and I'm also training jiu-jitsu all the time, I feel like I'm in a good state of mind for competition. I can approach the competition more confidently. If I know I've been slacking off, then I go into the competition with that thought in my head. It's like guilt walking into a church. Like you feel it, you swirling around in your head, and you're like, oh man. Oh,
I missed that one day, or I missed that one.
Or even like I haven't been doing it,
Yeah.
And I've done a tournament. I've had a tournament where I wasn't strength and conditioning training, and I felt the difference, because it's like you just feel like you feel more secure, you feel stronger, and also injury prevention is a huge part of it too. That's one thing that Jason Kamens instilled in me is when you're lifting, having proper technique. It's just like jiu-jitsu. If you do a jiu-jitsu technique wrong, you're going to get less from it than if you are focusing on doing it correctly. Same thing with the lift. If you're lifting, you need to make sure that you're putting your body in the right position to not get injured. And that in turn will help prevent injury through what you're doing. And there's different jiu-jitsu exercises like deadlifting, squatting are very important. Dumbbell rows are very important. If you go on Instagram, actually there's a page it's run by some of the dudes at Auto. It's called Electrum Performance. And they do like little tutorials on lifts that it's very, very informative. I actually approached Alex Sterner at the San Diego Open and let him know that it was in my opinion, was doing an awesome thing for the jiu-jitsu community if people were to look at it and see it, because a lot of people, like, you ever heard CrossFit?
Oh yeah.
I think CrossFit, my personal opinion is it's not the best idea, right? It's and not because obviously there's probably some CrossFit trainers out there who are very, very certified, they're very well certified, and they are really trying to keep you safe while you're doing it. But there's
not
some
doing
who
1,000 reps of something or
it's
some
like,
ridiculous.
Man,
thing.
that's crazy. You could really hurt yourself doing that. You could really, really, really tear your body down. And to answer your question, yeah, I feel like it's very important. I see it at all levels. I mean, look at the whole steroids versus not steroids debate, steroids versus natural debate. Like, there's not a soul out there that thinks I'm taking steroids, and yet I am strong, right?
Yeah.
If there is a soul out there that thinks I'm taking steroids, Instagram DM me, and I will show you the eggs I eat in the morning or something. Because I mean, you can really feel the difference, and you can feel the difference in people who take steroids and people who don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real thing in jiu-jitsu. It's not something that I think I would use as a crutch, like, oh, I lost because he used steroids. Like, you can always win a fight. That's the whole thing jiu-jitsu is based on. So if you let the fact that you know your opponent might be doing steroids affect you mentally in the fight, then you're already providing yourself with a crutch. It's almost like you're saying, okay, if I lose. There should be no if I lose. There should be when I win. Mm-hmm. So if you always allow yourself to kind of let the whole steroids bug into your ear, then that's gonna play a role too. And that has played a role with me before. With Kynan Duarte, when I used to fight him, I used to be like, man, this guy's gigantic. He gained 20 pounds since I last fought him. Why? It's cheating. He's a cheater. And I don't care if that's true. I don't care if he's the biggest cheater in the world. You shouldn't think that, because it's not helping. You should never think anything that's not going to help you.
Yeah, I know. Ryan, he's been strength training a little bit more and lifting more in here. And have you noticed a change? Because I don't know. Because you've done a couple tournaments under while you're strength training, or was it just Naga? How are you rolling?
I've noticed actually a pretty big change. Actually, Naga definitely, because the last time I fought against the kid, I felt like he had a big advantage over me strength wise, and then the last time I fought him, I felt like it was a big difference where we were more equally matched in strength, and it felt a lot easier just to fight against
control him a little more. Yeah, he's a really strong kid, and I know. So I like that, man. He's picking up, and this summer he's been lifting, and he's here coming more. We live right down the street, so he's gonna spend the summer lifting and training a lot more. And so yeah, and because you see a lot about that, and they're spending, a lot of people are spending more time. So I always thought, like, are they rolling less or lifting more? Have you adjusted your schedule? Are you adjusting because of if you're obviously getting stronger, has anything changed from your training?
So here's the funny thing. I have not trained any less. I've actually only trained more. And I was thinking about this the other day, how crazy it is. I burn a lot of calories a day. And my initial goal before Worlds, about 2 months before Worlds, was I wanted to gain up to about 200 pounds. Right? But that sounds super cool to say in your head, like, oh yeah, just gain up 200 pounds, lift a lot, eat a lot. But man, and like, this is back what I was saying before, I was struggling with eating. Like, eating is the hardest chore. It is I think working a 50-hour work week would be easier than eating 5,000 calories a day. Like,
yeah, it is. People, I remember always hear about people trying to maintain it or gain size.
It's unreal. Like, I can't gain weight. And there'll be times where, speaking very honestly, I don't eat right. And that could be a mixture of me having to eat something quickly because I overslept. That could be me literally just not eating the right food. That could be me not eating. The list goes on, you know what I mean? And as honestly, as a competitor, I can say that it is something I struggle with. I've gotten a lot better at sleeping. Sleeping used to be something I very much had a hard time with, just because I felt wound up. I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and then 4 a.m. and I would have a hard time actually falling asleep. It's been a thing since I was like a kid. I used to stay up until like 3 a.m. just like with thoughts in my head.
And mind's just racing.
Mind racing when I was a kid. But now that doesn't happen. I fall asleep like a rock, but then I wake up over and over and over. So it's like I would get poor quality of sleep. And now I feel like I've locked that down a little bit with better nutrition and with going to bed and turning off my phone before I go to sleep, and reading before I go to sleep really helps. I read the Bible before I go to sleep, and it puts me to sleep. And not because it's boring, but because it is reading is a tiring action. I'm not very smart. So my advice for, not my advice, but I like that you're lifting. One thing that I was taught by Jason was to, and again, make sure that you're doing the motions right, because right now your body, Ryan, you said 13 years old?
13.
You're so young. You know what I mean? You're a big kid, by the way, for 13 years old. I don't think I was his height when I was 13. But your body is developing in such a crazy fast pace right now, and it may feel like it's slow, but really you're going to be growing and growing. You're going to be so much taller than your dad. You're going to be like, what up, dad? And putting him in a triangle from 50 feet away. So you have to always never skip out on technique when you're lifting, because you can actually damage your body, especially since you're growing. Eventually, you're going to hit another growth spurt and you're going to feel super clumsy all over again. You're going to forget how to squat. And that happened to me. It happened to this kid named Brandon Ramsey, who was lifting and lifting and lifting. He was doing really, really good. He's getting stronger. He was staying healthy. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, boom, big growth spurt, and he forgot how, and like he had to relearn how to squat. Just because when your body grows so quick, you have to adjust.
Make adjustment. Okay.
Your body has to actually make adjustments. And you are going through probably the first or second chapter of puberty, I'm guessing, since you're 13 years old. So when you are lifting, just make sure, be ready for you to still be always checking your technique. And if you develop a habit of always checking your technique and always making sure you're doing everything right, it's going to be so much easier for you to just keep the right frame of mind and stay healthy, because there's nothing I hate seeing more than someone developing like back problems from lifting because they did it improperly. It's really unfortunate to see, because lifting, in my opinion, when done correctly, quote unquote, can lead to improved physical health, less injury on your joints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's when people are trying to deadlift a house that they hurt their knees. It's like, man, you did it. You won. Go home. Like you don't need to lift the gym. I've seen people at the gym like that. Like this guy, I don't even remember. I met him only on the account of the fact that he was walking through the gym and he had actually no neck. I don't think he had a throat. Like he had just his chest and then his head was on top of it. And I was like, man, I was like, you are gigantic. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. That's how he sounded. It was like this disgusting throaty, like as if he didn't have a throat, right? Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's yoked out of his mind. And he had arms bigger than my imagination, like crazy stuff.
How do you feel about, we'll get into, now steroids. You had Tayin.
Who?
Test positive. Tayani?
What? Those were donuts.
And
she
then
contaminated her donuts.
She tested, and then it was, of course, you always hear like people have tested in the back in the day, and people are trying to sweep it under the rug, or people that like rumors of people doing it. Is that? Do you feel as an active competitor? How do you think at the high level? I mean, at a very high level, is that something people talk about? I mean, that
of course, all the time. Yeah, I had a guy. I won't say his name. He approached me and he said, in the most casually, like, if I were to ask you, "Hey, man, you drink Gatorade, right?" And then you're like, "Yeah." Like, imagine that conversation. But he's like, "Oh man, it's just these guys, taking stuff. Like, you take steroids, right?" Like that. And it's like, and he's dead serious. I'm like, yeah, totally. And like I say, yeah, I'm on copious amounts. You can't tell. And he's like, oh no, they'll kick in later. I'm like, wait, are you serious? You really think I'm on steroids? He's like,
so now you're thinking he's like, well, he's not joking.
Yeah, no, because me and him grappled and I ankle locked him and I popped his foot really bad. And we're talking about it later. And he's like, yeah, on steroids, right? And he's from Brazil. His name is disclosed. Jeez, I almost said it. You see that? Man. But and then it's so casual, and it struck me. I was like, man, it really must be just a casual thing. Like, it's so nuts to me. Because for me, it's a performance-enhancing drug, right? It's not okay. It's not okay to use in competition. And I see so many. There's a Instagram page out right now called BJJ_steroids. And they apparently he's a fan of me because he messaged me. And he's like, hey, man, big fan. Is like #Natty Squad. And Natty Squad, like natural squad. And he's making all these memes, all these call outs of people doing steroids and like backing it with scientific evidence and stuff. And I'm like, man, this guy is, he's got like
the Alex Jones of the,
yes, but like not as crazy. He got like 3,000 followers in the past 5 days making the page. Like people, it's catching traction. And I don't know if it's 3,000, maybe like 2,000 plus, but it's like people are getting mad. Like I think Braulio Estima got mad about it.
Oh wow, that's a big name to call out of
Yeah.
to get someone's attention.
And he made the page and he's like putting like polls. He'll put natty or not is the name of the poll. He'll put it on Instagram story and he'll put a picture of a syringe. You can click on the poll and then a picture of a circle with a line through it.
Here it is. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, did you see the cover page?
What is it? Yeah, 2,159.
No, the picture.
Yeah, the
Of
picture is
Under
Undergo with
Val?
2 syringes in his shoulders. And he will call out everybody. And I was like, hey man, do me. He's like, I don't need to do you. Everybody knows you're natural. I was like, yes.
No
What's it called?
shit.
It's called BJJ_steroids. You guys can follow it and check it out. It's really crazy.
Exposing
It's
steroid users, gossip and shit. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear kimonos.
yeah, really funny stuff. And I messaged him. I was like, hey man, I was like, what is your evidence to support this? And he's taking a sports medicine college class and is doing a lot of research on PEDs. Like every day he's trying to find as much as he can just so he can expose people. And it's crazy. Like it's so funny that this is like gonna. I feel like people are gonna get mad enough about it to where it's gonna be like the catalyst for.
Dang,
like-
everyone voted that Gabby Garcia does steroids.
No way.
What?
Are you
I
serious?
think we need that's a shocker.
Don't mention Gabby. If you mention Gabby Garcia, she's gonna bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah, and it's weird because it goes back to the like, okay, strength versus technique, and this. I mean, technique's always, you always hear technique is king, and you always hear that part too. But I always hear like either, yeah, you got to use strength, or whoever says no, you zero strength, and you just hold. It has to be 100% technique, and it's got to be. I'm like, I'm not the best, but I'm like, man, I got to put some oomph in this choke if this is gonna freaking get in.
I think that my opinion on that is, okay, if you have 2 people who are equally matched, right, and they're going to use technique to try to sumo wrestle each other, but one of them is stronger, who's going to win? The person who's stronger, because strength does help. And I think that at the highest level of jiu-jitsu, people are fighting for their lives out there. People are fighting for the gold medals and the most prestigious world championships. There's no way that strength's not going to matter. You can see it. There's obviously times where strength loses and technique is better. I believe that if technique is better than strength. How do I word that correctly? Technique is king. I do believe that. But I do also believe that if you are going to have good technique, why wouldn't you be stronger? Right? Why wouldn't you want to be strong as well so that you can make the technique more efficient, or you can make it easier on yourself to perform certain techniques? Like if you have to do a single leg and you're not strong, but you have good technique, man, if someone's stronger than you and they just force their foot to the mat,
Yeah, you're
man,
in the tree.
unfortunately, it's going to be very hard to finish a single leg. And that's, you see wrestlers all the time. Wrestlers are strong human beings, man. Gorillas. And you get taken down. I've been taken down by a wrestler. It sucks. My head hit the mat. I felt like I had a concussion. It's not cool. And I just think that it's important for people to realize that, yes, strength, yes, perhaps technique is much more important than strength, which it is, okay? Because you can be a big, dumb, strong guy and get beat up by a little guy. That's the whole premise that jiu-jitsu is based off of. But to say that you don't need strength, I think, is slightly more ignorant than I would say.
Yeah, and I believe that, I don't know if it's strength, but I believe in force. I believe,
Elaborate.
You have to, like, I can't cross choke somebody with strength. I mean, I'm gonna burn out. But I can use, a better grip, or just even if I'm guard passing somebody, I can't, deadlift the person towards me to pass them. I can get close and tighter and use more force, more weight, more angles, and more. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's a good analogy. I just hate to when people say like, "Oh, use zero strength," and then like, well, because I used some strength. Sorry, but I used some strength to submit whoever, whatever, or to survive this role. But I used that strength, but I used force. I used force to pass this person's guard. I used force to keep this person off of me. If I don't expect to, pick somebody up or anything to use strength to deadlift somebody, into submission.
Of course.
I think I'm going to use a lot more force to get tighter to the person and have or control the person, whoever it is. I don't know, and it's weird. I think about that often too, and I think, like, am I using too much strength or missing too much force? I'm like, well, I don't feel my hands. I'm not burnt out, so I'm not using strength really, but I need to put a good amount of force into whatever this move is.
I'll tell. So maybe a way to think about it is jiu-jitsu is essentially your body versus someone else's body, and every way you can use your body to impose yourself and win the fight. And the way I teach, let's say I'm teaching an ultra heavyweight, right? I don't like, and I know an ultra heavyweight who is a very technical person, but he's afraid to put his weight on some. Okay, let's say
big guy syndrome.
Let's say he's grappling with Cade, right? I don't care if he puts his weight on Cade's face and suffocates Cade, and we have to resuscitate him because Cade probably deserved it. Okay, but Josh would be like, I don't want to put my weight. Or let's say his name is Josh. Because he's a buddy of mine. His name is Josh Cheatham, and he is getting very, very good at jiu-jitsu, but sometimes he doesn't want to put his weight, right?
It's literally, I think it's, I call it a big guy syndrome, or the big guy ultra guilt. And I think that's 100% natural, where
yes,
a lot of ultra guys don't want to, because I think they're afraid of people who don't want to roll with them.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's a rational fear to have of someone not wanting to roll with you. But I told him, I was like, dude, you should use it because it's part of your jiu-jitsu. Your body is part of your jiu-jitsu. If someone has an arm that doesn't work, it's part of their jiu-jitsu, right? If someone has no fingers on their right hand, or they don't have a wrist, it's part of their jiu-jitsu. Same way that weight is. Even if you don't want to have that weight, or maybe you want to have more of the weight, you still need to use that because it's part of jiu-jitsu. I fought Devontae Johnson, right, at American Nationals in 2017. It was my first brown belt IBJJF tournament. I fought him in Nogi in the first match, and I got under his leg. So I did I was in quarter guard or Z guard or whatever you want to call it. And I get under the leg, I pull my knee under, and as I'm about to pull to finish the under the leg setup, he literally puts his hand on my chest and pulls his leg back, and I am no longer under his leg. And I thought to myself in my head in that moment, oh my God. It's like, this man, I'm fighting Superman. I'm like, this guy is so strong. And then he passes my guard like butter. Like, I can't stop him. He double underpasses my guard in Nogi. If I get, like, I am upset if I get my guard passed with double unders in Nogi. Like, double under, like the Brunato Faria bread and butter, passing my guard like that. And then takes my back and chokes me like I'm a child, and I'm a brown belt. Like brother, I got third at Pan Ams before that. Like, I am upset. And I talked to him after the match. I'm like, dude, you are like, you're very good. Just get that out of the way, so I'm not giving that backhanded comment like, "Oh, you're super strong, bro." You know, and people give you that comment, and they don't want to say that you're good and that you won. They just want to be like, "Hey, man, you're super strong."
Yeah.
I want to say, "Hey, man, let me just preface this by saying I think you're very talented and you're very good, but holy moly, you are also incredibly strong." And he was like, "Yeah, people tell me that." I'm like, "Dude." It's like, I haven't had my guard passed that embarrassingly in a while. He's like, "Yeah, I saw your fight. I watched you fight a couple of times, man. You're pretty good. Don't feel bad." I'm like, now I feel horrible. Like, what are you going to tell me don't feel bad? You want me to call you dad too? Like, jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's true, guys, that a lot of ultras that I've met and like, I never wanted, I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to hurt somebody by my size, for one. If it happens in an arm bar or whatever, a joint lock, whatever it is, I know that's part of the game.
Yeah.
And even, I was just telling Coach the other night, and I got just a handful of smaller guys, and the 140s, 150s, one even probably a little lighter, I love rolling with because they're so freaking fast. I mean, that's my cardio for them.
Yeah.
Like, God. Like, all right, I'm using some strength.
For sure.
Just freaking stop and sit down or you got to pin them down because you're just, they're just running around in circles trying to get them off of you. And it's a good compliment. I think they get they love it because like, oh yeah, I got to learn how to get with big guys.
For sure.
And you're like, I got to learn because I got to keep up, someone fast who's going to, if I'm loose, they're going to swiggle out whatever little crack they find. So I like the compliment of that. But I think, I hate the idea of having them like, okay, I'm just gonna side control this person forever.
Yeah.
And just, grind him down and or neon belly him for because he weighs, half a person less than me. So, but yeah, I big guys have that. I call it big guy syndrome. They're always kind of like, oh, you okay? Are you okay?
I don't get bothered by it. I think, and that has to do with the fact I have a lot of respect for people who grapple to try to better themselves, right? If we're in the gym and you're playing in a way that is not, I don't want to say we're disrespectful, but I expect you to roll, right? If you don't want to roll heavy, tell me and we'll roll light. If you want to roll heavy, roll heavy. If you want to roll hard, roll hard. If you want to roll like it's a tournament, roll, it's so on and so forth. But that's why whenever I roll, I think that the respect is a two-way street. If I roll with an ultra heavyweight, I expect them to roll with every part of their skill set because that is not only going to make them better because I believe I can also help them. I have something to provide my training partners, but they have something for me as well because they're very good. And everybody at my gym we're very family-oriented gyms. So I don't ever think, hey, you're going to hurt me. Or if someone's lighter than me, I'm going to hurt them. I never think that because you're supposed to be taught that self-control. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the main principles of jiu-jitsu is being able to control your body so as not to injure somebody, to prevent yourself from being injured, and to, let's say you're in a street fight situation, injure somebody. So that's the kind of, that's my mindset about rolling in the gym with anybody. I love rolling with ultra heavyweights because it's a different look. I'm going to fight people like that. Like there's a couple ultra heavyweights that other than Victor Hugo moves like a lightweight and he's like 240, but he's 6'7" or something.
Oh gosh.
Like that. He's a gigantic guy. He's very fun to grapple with though. I've grappled with him once in tournament. He knee barred me, but the whole fight was super fun. I was like, man, this guy's, he's like my strength.
Local guy?
No, he's a Saul Ribeiro. He's the best brown belt in the world. He's the number one brown belt in the entire world.
About. Yeah, okay.
He I don't know why he's not black belt, but he's not. And he's ultra heavyweight one. I think he's gonna get the Grand Slam. Did he win? I think he won double gold and everything. Double gold in Europeans, Brazilian nationals,
Pans, right?
and now he's going for the double gold worlds. But if we meet in the open division, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do everything to. I believe I can beat anybody because of my mindset about jiu-jitsu. I think that really helps me.
And how do you, what do you think is a setback that competitors going into like Worlds or Pans or Europeans or anything like that, what do you think that they're, so we got strength training, we got jiu-jitsu, obviously, drilling and training. Is there something else that you think that competitors or that from your experience that I wish I would have done this outside of strength and jiu-jitsu to help me? Any kind of preparation that you think guys kind of miss out on, or you feel like, okay, this helps me and this should be part of someone's regimen?
So I think that the biggest enemy you can ever face is yourself. And that sounds cliche, sounds corny, but every time I've ever lost, it's because I had my finger on safety or I was not in my right head. Like, man, I do this. And the way I started to think about it after a while was, man, there'll be times where I'll fight somebody in a tournament. I won't know who they are. And then someone will tell me afterwards, like, dude, you just beat the guy who got second at Brazilian Nationals last year. It's crazy. And that guy's a high-level competitor. I fought Azaki Bayans. It's all jiu-jitsu. I do jiu-jitsu all the time. It's what I love to do the most in the world. It's what I like. I would not rather do anything. I would live on the mat if I needed to. I would sell everything if I needed to do jiu-jitsu because I love it. And my professor, Andre Maracaba, has instilled that love in me. Like, he's inspired me. Now I get to do jiu-jitsu every single day. When I go to a competition, what am I doing? On the boldest, most basic level, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. If I lose a jiu-jitsu tournament, am I going to be upset? Of course. I want to win. All I want to do is win a jiu-jitsu tournament. I believe myself to be good enough to be world champion in 2 weeks. But there's always a possibility that you have to be able to accept the fact that losing is a possibility while also realizing that you also have the capability to win. You can't allow yourself to think, am I good enough? You have to always know that you're good enough because anybody's good enough, man. Lucas Lepri beat Kynan at Euros. At Europeans, and everybody thought Kynan was going to beat your Lepre because kind of doesn't get beat, really. Like, he gets beat by Metagali. That's kind of it. And Lepre went out there and pulled it out, man. And Andre lost a bet to Cade on that. But what I'm trying to say is that in my experience, never has doubting myself ever done good for me. Not once. Anytime I've ever thought I was going to lose, that's what happened. Anytime I've ever thought that was going to win, it didn't always happen, but when it did, it was gratifying and it made me feel like I was doing something right. So that goes into everything. If you're strength training right, you're eating right, you're doing jiu-jitsu right, you should believe in yourself. And you should surround yourself with people who believe in you. And that's something I'm very blessed to have as well. That's helped me in competition. Even if I don't believe in myself, I don't have to because other people already believe in me for me. So and that's what I try to instill in all the students that we have at Monaco BJJ. There are some people who they just get so nervous for competition. I tell them, I'm like, listen, it's a beautiful thing. You're going to be surrounded by your close friends, and they're going to watch you go out there, and they're going to support you, whether you win, you lose, you draw, you cry, it doesn't matter what happens at the tournament. As long as you go out there and you give it your best, and you know that we're all behind you, we're going to be proud of you. And that's something I take into every single competition with me. Worlds in 2 weeks is going to be a beautiful, amazing time because I know I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do what I do best, and that is high-level, amazing jiu-jitsu. And I truly believe that that's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's almost redundant to explain because I don't know how else to explain it.
No,
but really,
perfectly.
self-belief is so important. Levi Jones said it. He says that like he envisions himself as a world champion, and I fought him. You know what I mean? I know how much he believes in himself. You can feel the confidence in his jiu-jitsu. It's something that people need to really look into is the ability to you see all the high level, the successful people. I mean, granted, a lot of them are already champions. It's like you see you say you can't climb the tree, you see a kid climb the tree, and then you go climb the tree because you know it's possible. Mm-hmm. Once you already win, you know it's possible. Up until then, it's just a dream, right? That's why I'd say you're chasing dreams. But really, you have to manifest your dream. You have to live your dream. You have to really put yourself in the shoes of your dream. Otherwise, how are you going to walk it?
That's great. And it's you hear about it a lot in every other sport, and not just professional sports, but you hear it a lot in like high school sports that are super competitive. These people, they have the mental coaches. You have that. And I never hear anybody do that or talk about it in jiu-jitsu. Like you hear about it in MMA guys like, oh, I have a mental coach for the past so-and-so, and it's been great. And is that, have you ever looked into something like that? Or as far as having a mental, because I remember, I know I bought you a book years ago about athletes' mental preparation. You probably doesn't remember it. But by Ryan, a book on mental preparation and how athletes prepare themselves mentally, because it's true. You have this your training, okay, check, not just the training, but the skill, whatever it is, so jiu-jitsu or wrestling or whatever. You have your strength training. You have like what other pillar do you need? And I think mental is a huge,
for sure,
freaking part. And how much invested should you invest as much into that mental, like into a mental coach, like you invest into a lifting coach? Do you think?
That's a tough question. I've never been asked that question. I seen that Gustavo Dantes does the BJJ mental coach program that he has. He does do that. And for me, I never thought I needed to look that far into it because I try to break jiu-jitsu and everything down. Again, I'm a simple man. All right, do jiu-jitsu. That's all. That's me, right? And I try to break everything down into the most simple way I can. And jiu-jitsu for me, it's like if I believe in myself, I will do great. And I also I read the Bible. I draw inspiration from that. I believe you can do that even if you're not religious. If you read books like that are guidelines for mental fortitude and being a great person, I think you can learn from religion even if you're not religious. Let's say you're atheist. You can draw wisdom from other places. It's not like you need to define yourself in a certain way to be able to draw inspiration and knowledge from other places. That's where ignorance lies. That's what I've tried to think about and keep my mind open. I don't necessarily dispose of possible wisdom I could be getting just because I don't like somebody, right? I still learn a lot. Like, let's say there's somebody in the jiu-jitsu community that I don't agree with, or let's say it's like someone controversial. just because I don't like them doesn't mean that they don't have something to offer me knowledge-wise. Let's say they could do something great. Everybody in humanity has a capacity for kindness, has a capacity for teaching. That's the beautiful thing about being human. And I kind of lost where I was going with this. I'm going to be honest with you. I was so passionate about what I was talking that I forgot to look behind me at what we were talking about. We were talking about mental coach and whether it was a good thing to invest in. If you need that sort of thing and you feel like that's what's going to give you comfort in your competition, then of course, anything that you feel like is good for you is worth investing in.
And that's a good point. You touched on it, and not necessarily maybe some people like not a mental coach, like I have a personal trainer, or if you have your jiu-jitsu coach or whoever, is as long as you, I think, mental preparation in something. If it's reading the Bible and hearing and reading, and you want to draw wisdom and inspiration on how to live a good life, or you want to draw on, I'm gonna read freaking Kanye West, and that's I'm left, whatever it is, man. But I think ignoring it or not incorporating it into if jiu-jitsu is your life is, I think, a huge missing element in where people, I think, or they can be. I think it can be something that people can gain a lot more inspiration out of.
I totally agree. I really do. I think that I mean, and like you said, so I used to try to find a ritual to do before tournaments because I believed in it, right? I was like, man, what if I did this before the tournament? I always did that. And like, that sounds like corny, but like I was exploring different ways to mentally prepare myself. And then eventually I settled on the conclusion that what do I do when I train? I'm usually joking, or I'm working hard, but I'm usually happy. I'm usually joking. I don't listen to music unless it's in my car. So at tournaments, I'm kind of just talking to people until I have to go up. I'm talking about the match. I'm talking about whatever we were talking about earlier. I'm relaxed because I'm in my element. I'm doing jiu-jitsu. And I try to just relate it to home. Whenever I warm up, I do the same warm up for a jiu-jitsu match that I do to lift. I move out my neck. I roll out my shoulders. I do Romanian deadlifts. And then I go out there and I fight. For Pan Ams, I tried to actually do a live roll before I went and fought Roberto. And I felt like, okay, cool. I got a good sweat going. And then I got cold. And then my head started hurting. And then it's like, all this stuff is happening. And I'm so nervous and scared to fight. And then I was and like what you're saying, like mental fortitude is incredibly important. And I was not in my right headspace to compete in such a gigantic tournament that I felt like I could win. And that's not to offer excuses as to why I lost. There are no excuses. I lost. I could have won, and I didn't. I made several mistakes in the match that cost me. That caused me to turn my back and get choked. So either way you slice it, doesn't matter. People watching in Flow Grappling don't know what's going on. So I had the power to dictate the pace of the match, but I wasn't mentally prepared to do so. And then you look at a tournament 2 weeks later, and I'm fine. It's just, you got to just find what's consistently working for you. And I do like the idea of having like a mental trainer if that is what you need. My mental trainer when I was younger was Andre's hand. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
On the back of my head.
I'm just kidding. No.
His backhand.
No, I'm just kidding. But Andre has always instilled, my professor has always instilled this incredible like realism. Like he's always spoke to me in a blunt way. And that's how my father is as well. My dad has always spoke to me in a way that was real. It was not sugar-coated. It was to the point. It is what it is. The truth sucks. Here it is. And then when I live my life that way, I break how I feel about jiu-jitsu into a blunt way. I love it. I don't have to overcomplicate it. It is what it is. I do it every day. Why not make myself feel out there like I do in here? And that's kind of, for me, I can break it down simply. Some people are different. They have to break everything down into smaller pieces and really think about the minute details of how they're feeling. And I think I just how I've been raised, I don't really have to think about it too much. I just think about being happy, having fun, like really having fun for me. I have so much more fun doing jiu-jitsu now than I did when I was a kid, even though I loved it when I was a kid too.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point when you're saying you have to find your tradition or how are you gonna prepare? Because I've seen some people, they're like stone cold, don't bother him, don't stay away, complete. That's how they get ready.
Yeah.
And there's some they're like, blah, blah, blah. You had no idea that they're going to be, we obviously know probably what camp you're in, here. But I mean, Ryan, what did, because you had a hard time a little bit years ago in competition. You would, it was a struggle sometimes, I would just be like, because I want to see him most of us succeed, but just on his terms. I want him to be good. I know he's good enough or whatever. But I hated watching when he would mentally like break down, like have that breakdown, in the finals or
it's tough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what would you, or how did you get used to being? I mean, I know you're still nervous probably, but is there anything that over the years is competing?
Well, when I first started, like after like a few tournaments, like I was still nervous and I wasn't really used to like the crowd and everything. I didn't really find anything that would like help me like calm myself and help me get ready for my fights. And I didn't have anything like that yet. But after Chicago last March, like it kind of just like clicked, I guess. Like I was just comfortable. I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was just like thinking about everything besides jiu-jitsu. I was just thinking about anything. And it just kind of fell into place. And
so you kind of just like focus outside of jiu-jitsu. You focus a little bit away. And I heard that too. And to not get that anxiety built up or focus on your opponent. Like, I'm going to, some people make best friends in the corral, in the bullpens, are like best friends afterwards. And I'm like, that's the most awkward thing ever. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do that on accident, right? So like after the fight, I'll like find them at a tournament. Like that's happened to me and Adam Bradley. Like Adam Bradley, I'll go up behind him, like hold, like touch his fingers with my, like just like weird him out. He'd be like, ugh. I'm like, oh, Adam, what's up, man? And like, and then he's like, oh, Jake. And he realizes like that we're friends. You know what I mean? I mean, as friends can be when they only see each other at tournaments. But like, it's just, I don't know. Life is too short to hate people, man. So like, okay, so Ronaldo is a guy that I fought. I've lost to him 7 times now. And every time we fight, it's always a sick fight, right? A couple times here and there where I just get trashed. But that's mostly due to me trying something new and it not working. I'm like, all right, don't do that again. But we had a lot of crazy, really good fights. And I'm very polite to everybody I compete against because I think, dude, we all do the same thing. Like, we all do jiu-jitsu. We all are trying to improve our physical health. We're all trying to be world champions. Why can't we just be friends? You know what I mean? Like, why do I don't have to hate you to beat you. Like, I'll beat you or I'll lose to you if you're my best friend. I don't care. And so for me, it's a lot more, I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot more simple. And I wanted to touch on something Ryan said earlier. He said that was like kind of if like something clicked. It's a sick feeling being in your groove, isn't it? Yeah. When you just know you're grooving, you're out there, you're schmooving, and it's a great feeling to just be in your element. That's the feeling that I feel like I am getting better at harnessing, is just being in the moment. I feel like what works for me sometimes is I'll make sure to take a moment before I fight to like really think about where I am and be in the moment, and then I'll have fun, and then I'm not nervous anymore because it's like, man, I know why. Like, because you sign up for tournaments, you're like, I want to go compete there. And then when you get there, all of a sudden you don't want to compete. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to do this right now. I think I'm going to throw up. Like, stuff like that comes into your mind, but that's not real. All that is just your body's like, oh man, do you really want to do this? Like, that's a bit. But if you learn how to just kind of ditch that and you learn how to have fun with what you're doing, then it's so much easier. And I know that at Chicago, that's what you're talking about. Being in your groove is the coolest feeling. Yeah,
it was cool because I know even before that, I noticed like he found like he was comfortable, was like where it was comfortable. And I'm sure competing a lot helped too.
Yeah.
It's either going to be torture or, he's completely hated, or it could be torturous for him or for anybody.
Oh, for sure.
And so even before Chicago, I forgot what tournaments were there, because he went for a couple
before
years.
Pan Am's. Yeah, right after Pan Am's. So
I
Chicago.
think, yeah.
That was
and then
second
he didn't went with the Wild without losing.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago, he went on his own. We flew him out there. He went with our coaches. And,
damn.
So he went out there on his own and competed over there. and things that rolled after that. Just he had a great year, and you can tell even now, like it's just not just confidence, but when you see it, I mean, in anybody, but when you see it in your kid, like have the confidence to win or lose, whatever happens, you know, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah, for
To
sure.
not be like, oh gosh, I gotta go, you know, hope he's okay. And yeah, you know, he lost at Pans and was pissed, and like, all right.
Yeah, that's
All
just
right.
give him space. Andre
Like,
just
all
gives
right.
me space.
I'm like, do you know what you did? He goes, yes. There's no way I should have freaking lost. I was stupid. I'm like, that's what happens here, man. It's just the way. It's just the way it is here. It just, in a perfect example. You said you were at the Pans. You made a mistake. You made a mistake, and that mistake led to just being the bad day, and it's just the way it is. And I like. And I tell the other kids too when I coach them, I say it's good that you lose right now because you're learning how to lose. I'm not saying don't be comfortable with losing.
Yeah,
but
you're not fostering the idea that losing is whatever.
Yeah,
it's not whatever. You lost.
No, you don't. I'm not the biggest fan of you either win or you learn. Like, fuck no, you lost.
For sure. Well, okay. Yes, you lose first.
Yeah.
You are learning from the loss, but not because it's okay to.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay when you fought as hard as you could, and it was and then you make a mistake. If you learn from that, don't do that again.
Yeah.
If you do the mistake next time, did you really learn? No.
Yeah, exactly. Or don't be like but I learned. Man, I learned it so much today.
Man, I learned something today.
Yeah, like no, you lost. I'm sorry, but you lost. But you learned not to do that again. I'm sure that was me.
Are you okay? Man.
But it's funny how we were talking about tournaments, and I was super excited that the Phoenix Open is coming.
Yeah, me too. I think it's kind of crazy.
Did you compete when IBJJF was here?
No, man.
First few times?
I think I was like 9.
Really? That long ago?
How long ago was it?
I hear like someone said 5 years, and then someone like online said like 10 years ago. And
man, if it was 10 years ago, that makes a little bit more sense to me because I don't remember there ever being an IBJJF in Arizona. And my memory, I mean, Andre could be like, man, yes, there was. You competed at it. And I wouldn't remember at it. Yeah. Andre remembers everything. And that's the scary thing. I don't even test. If Andre says, hey, you did this a long time ago, I'll be like, oh, geez, really? Oh,
sounds about right.
It's like, really? Are you sure I killed that goat like all those years ago? He's like, yeah, you don't remember? No, I don't. Jeez. But the Phoenix Open, I think, is going to be a really good opportunity for a lot of competitors, even if it's not a big tournament. Because my theory about the tournament is that it will be only slightly larger than a Gustavo's tournament. That's my theory. Gustavo's being the AZ BJJF, which has done this incredible job of providing Arizona with its own competition scene, which I think is nuts, by the way. You look at other states, they don't have a competition scene like that because they don't need one. They have the IBJJF that will visit them. But now that the Phoenix Open is coming back, September 28th, I think that it's going to be an interesting tournament. It could be gigantic. Who knows? It's right next to San Diego. It's right next to, Nevada, California, other places in California, of course. It's on the other side of Texas. So we are like the epicenter of a few states.
Big hotspots, yeah.
Big hotspots. And it could be gigantic or it could be small. That's what I'm seeing with the tournament. I think that if I don't win the Open, I'm a fraud. So I really want to win the Open. But I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a really cool thing. I think it's good.
I like the more the better. And that's right. The last time you were here was right after World League. Right after the first World League. I think it was the day after your World League.
Yes, because I was a ref.
You're a ref, right. That's right. And
you complained about me giving the ref decision not to your wife, correct?
That's a sore subject. I'm just kidding.
So I didn't. It wasn't my fault, man. My brain was telling me raise not her hand because
raise the other person's head.
And she actually won the fight. I was just doing it to spite you. I'm just kidding. No, but
I like for one, I like the fair competition because it keeps everybody. Not that we never did personally. I never took Ryan or Nick to some Gustavo's tournaments because I didn't like the Gustavo tournaments. We did them as a team. The first time, well, he went a couple times. aside from the organization, and then you learn like, oh, well, fuck, everybody kind of sucks a little bit, but you know, some tournaments suck less, organization wise. And I was really turned off one time, and not to say that it doesn't happen in other places either. And I forgot a couple years ago. I mean, it was a couple years. It definitely wasn't this year. Well, it definitely wasn't last year. Probably 2 years ago. He was between a weight bracket, and he was right on it. Or I'm like, okay, well, I don't want him to cut weight, but also too, I don't want him to be, you know, 1 pound in the bracket either. So I'm like,
for sure.
shoot, okay, great. And so he was kind of cutting weight, and he was trying to lose weight, or not lose weight, but I think he cut out like don't eat crap that week kind of thing.
For sure, yeah.
So he had a rough day, that morning. I'm like, dude, you're really close to weight, man. Just wait. And I'm like, you're going to weigh in, and I have some snacks for you to get your sugar back up, to get some energy. I know you're miserable right now. Okay. Went through the weight scale with the test. It's like, shit, he's like really freaking close. I'm like, all right, don't sweat in your gi. Like, don't like,
For sure,
like that close.
Heavier, yeah.
Like it's that close. So because we couldn't get into the actual scale. He made it by a pound, I think it was. And I don't think they gave an allowance at that time. So at the end, I had some candy bars. My wife bring candy bars, and I take a sandwich to him so he can get something in his stomach. The kid in his division weighed in like 3 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And also was a Gustavo student. And was checked in, and was checked in by a Gustavo checker. And I was like, I wonder if that kid's, I'm like, because they even said like, oh, you're 3 pounds heavy. And I was like, oh, so obviously he's in Ryan's division. And they're about the same. He looked about the same age and everything. So I'm like, oh, I bet you he's probably in Ryan's division. And it's like, okay, well, you know, you got to be, you know, this way. He goes, we'll let you in. And they didn't say, we'll let you in. They just kind of moved him by.
Oh.
And I was like, I saw that. I didn't say anything about it. I was like, the last thing I want ever to do is for one to have a kid DQ'd by weight, which I think is, but it's easier to say like, hey, add a person to this bracket and shuffle it real quick. And I would never want a kid to get DQ'd because of weight. Absolutely not.
I think it depends.
But also too, I'm like, crap, he feels like shit over here. And I'm like making sure like, hey, get something in your stomach, because I know you didn't, you know, you didn't eat anything all day. You went running yesterday. We had a big workout, and the first person he lost to, and that's besides the point. He lost to that kid on points or by advantage. I forgot what it was. And so I was like, at that point, I was like, this freaking sucks. Like, I don't like that. I didn't like that part at all. Mm-hmm. I guess if maybe the affiliation to the team is probably what I don't like, or some people I'd say that they don't like that. There has to be a draw on line too. But also too, IBJJF is Gracie Bach kind of thing, and the ties to that make I don't know. And it was
no clue.
It was one of those things where it was that sucked, and I felt bad. And I'm like, one, I didn't want the kid not to compete, you know, bump him up to the next weight class. And also too, I was like, well, crap, that kind of sucks. Like like 2 other kids or 3 other kids were like, oh crap, I gotta lose a weight, I gotta do this, and parents are stressing, oh my gosh, we should have just changed it. And then they're saying like, oh no, and they email you like, today's the last day to change brackets, no changes are made after this deadline kind of thing. And it's like, oh crap, that kind of freaking sucked. So after that, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna, you know, deal with that. So I like when other tournaments come into town. I like when Worley comes in, because it makes everybody else like, oh crap, I gotta, you know, make myself better. Hopefully that's the idea.
Yeah, for sure. Whenever a competition emerges, you want to make yourself better than the competition. That totally makes sense.
Exactly.
To make yourself better than the IBJJF is going to be a little hard, though.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate you had to deal with that circumstance. I've never actually seen anything shady from a tournament.
I've never seen shady. I wouldn't even call that shady.
For sure. I should use a different word choice. Back to what you're saying about a kid being disqualified for, I don't want to go too far into this, but I think if a kid is over by like 9 pounds, then that's most likely the parents' fault, and they should probably be DQ'd. Or it's the kid's fault, depending on how old they are or the circumstances of their competing. But moving on, for as far as like, with affiliations and everything like that, of course, I mean, just go back to what we were talking about earlier about steroid usage and stuff being swept under the rug. And it's that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's all the time that kind of stuff is happening. So eventually, as a competitor, I try not to think about anything like that. Like, of course it's going to happen. If I'm on the opposite end of a referee decision to a Gracie Baja guy in a fight that I won, it's life. Like, it sucks and be really upset about it and it's unjust and we're going to complain. But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, it is what it is, I guess. That's really as far as it goes. But I think I like when tournaments are trying to be more professional. I really like that because it reminds me of, like, I mean, we're a new sport. We're a fledgling sport. And a lot of people are dedicated to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a lifestyle. And, you know, I mean, you look at like old videos of the IBJJF and the CBJJ when they were reffing, you know, Ronaldo Jacare versus Roger Gracie, and the referees are wearing gi pants and a backwards hat. Nowadays they're wearing suits and ties, and man, they're in Walter Pyramid, and we have regulation, we have checks, and people are in the bleachers. It's like
doctors
it's
there.
a sport. There's doctors there. Like, you get, I mean, the next step obviously is testing for PED usage, but man, to even see like how far jiu-jitsu has come and how much farther hopefully it'll come is just, it's really cool. And I going back to what I said about the shady stuff, again, like, that's not that shady, but I mean, I've seen the NABJJF. I won't compete.
Oh yeah,
I won't
went
compete.
through that.
Yeah, I won't even compete for them anymore. You know what I mean? Unless Andre told me to. If Andre's like, go compete, I'd be like, okay, you know, I guess I will.
Yeah, and I think so what's your, I don't know, say what your favorite, I mean, everybody has favorite tournaments for whatever reason, but what's your, as a competitor, what do you like? Like, what do you want to see in tournaments, organizers to do?
Like, what I want from jiu-jitsu tournaments, like the next step? Like,
well, in general, like, what do you think, like, IBJJF or Gustavo or NABJJF or World League?
I think the IBJJF needs to drug test all athletes who win. Okay, wait, how about this? Let me just, let's brainstorm, because I don't want to say anything concrete, because then I might listen to the podcast later and be like, oh man, but that wouldn't be a good idea. And then now I got to message everybody who listens to the podcast and tell them I'm not an idiot. So let's think about this. What if the IBJJF were to drug test, let's say, the winner of every division? Like actually drug test, not sweep it under the rug. Like, actually USADA were to drug test the winner of every division. I'm talking like female, male, blue belt, juvenile, at Worlds, right? Male, adult, brown, medium, heavy. Like, what if they did that? Just like as a next step, because I understand that it's very expensive to afford USADA drug testing. From general tournament organizers, I'm talking Jiu-Jitsu World League, NABJJF. Obviously, I don't expect that, because that's just, I mean, that's so much money that every organization will have to pay. I don't want to get drug test. Like, I don't think it's necessary for you to drug test at the Grand Canyon State Open, because, man, it's a local. It's you know, it's at a high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But for Worlds, it's a different story. You have people who are so very obviously on performance enhancing drugs, and they have gained 50 pounds in 7 months, and you're like, what the? How does that happen? Yeah. Like, how does? Man, you had a vein popping out of your eyeballs. Like, you know what I mean? And that kind of thing for IBJJF, I guess, would be my vision for the next step. But for tournament organizers locally, I think that their new addition to, like, trying to be polite and trying to introduce more or better etiquette for coaches and stuff like that, it's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. I don't think it was as out of hand as I think they were getting at, because really, I mean, you should see baseball and football. Those people are screaming at referees, at their own kids, at their own coaches. Like, it's not that bad. I think that the referees, we're trying to build the Arizona referees up. I have a lot of respect for referees. It's a very hard job. I don't like doing it myself. I did it at the Jiu-Jitsu World League tournament, and you even ridiculed me.
Expressed
you expressed your distaste with me as a human the very next day, and I was like, man, you know, that's a little harsh. But in all seriousness, I think it's a very hard job. And I think that referees need to be better. And what I mean by that is, let's take, for example, if I have to referee an Arizona tournament, I'm going to, and Andre would hold me to this as well. This is also, that's why it's good to have Andre. I would have to research the night before, the weekend before, up until the tournament. I'm going to research the rules. I'm going to become very familiar with the rules. I might even take matches and just turn off the scoreboard and just referee them and just make sure I'm doing them right. Check the scoreboard at the end, see if it matches up. Everything like that. Trying to prepare myself to be the best I can possibly be, because you see some refs that actually don't know how to explain the rules. And that is, I've seen it happen with all sorts of refs. There was situations with refs where they're getting, like, something as simple as a person goes for an ankle lock, and the person who's getting ankle lock comes on top, and the referee doesn't give points. And it's like, his foot's on the mat. Why didn't you give the points? Stuff like that, I think, can be avoided if the referees put in more effort. Refereeing is a very difficult job, and that might be more incentive to, referees getting paid however much they get paid. They should probably, if they want to get paid more. I don't really think that's not how I function. I think if I'm going to do a job, I'm going to do it right. I think that it's just important because you're benefiting the community. You're affecting a kid's day, how a kid thinks about a tournament. There's so much that goes into refereeing. You have such an impact on literally everything at the tournament. You stop and you control how the fight can go. If you wanted to call pothole for no reason, it would stop the fight. That's the impact you have as a referee. So it's up to referees to be better, in my opinion. And I mean, I think that if more people were to focus on being better referees, it would affect how the community is as well, because people would have less to complain about.
Yeah.
Calls would make more sense. Sometimes you see
You just want people to get more, either they're not refereeing enough or they're not, and you see, I see that when Naga comes in, and then some of the smaller ones that just came in with, like, Grappling Industries came in, and you see okay, this guy's blue belt or purple belt referee, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm sure they rules are rules. It doesn't, it's, but also too, like, there was one match and a kid was in guard, and then the kid that had the closed guard was compressing the kid. And the kid was crying, and the ref stopped it, and he warned the kid. He goes, "Hey, if you keep crying, are you okay? Or you keep crying?" And then I was like, "Why is that kid crying?" I was like, from the sidelines, and started up again, and then again you could see like he's like wincing and like bending over, and you could hear the other coach. He goes, she's compressing she's doing kidney compress, or I forgot what the
squeezing.
Yeah, and then they have it on the rules. You can't do that. And then they stopped the fight and gave it because the kid was crying about that. And there's like, there was a big argument, like, they're compressing the kid because you see it. Everybody else is seeing it, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those, like, it's experience. Even though they know they're not supposed to do that, but it's something that unless you've seen it before or had it done to you, you know, like, oh crap.
For sure.
That's an experience kind of call. And so you wish, yeah, of course, because you want the athletes to be safe, and then you want to be a fair, it's something fair, because if they can do that, then I'm going to bear crawl over past the guard, bear crawling over your head, which you can't do if you're going to be compressing. So shit, I'm going to bear crawl and, bend your neck the other way.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I definitely agree that's a huge part of it too. I think we're just experience wise with referees, having them more mat time, or hey, go and out of state, because that's the good thing about the Gustavo tournaments, the IBJJF tournaments. A lot of the referees are from out of state. Yeah, because they compete. They're referees in California. Yes,
it costs money to bring those guys out.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have to pay for their travel, and then all this money, and that's like the big thing about it, I think, as well. Like, because look at Samir does a great job. You look at Kishino does a great job, and then there's other referees that also do a great job. There's some referees who are learning, and that's when they have to learn. They have to learn, and they have to make sure they're learning. They can't just say, "Oh, I'm getting better." No, you're a referee, man. You have to study. Like, before a tournament, you should study, and you should be like, if you make a mistake, like, okay, really can't make mistakes. You can't just be okay with making mistakes as a referee. You can't just say, "Oh, it's life. I'm a referee. No one's perfect." No, you have to try to be perfect, because it's your job. You have a job to do.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as now Ryan as a kids tournament and kids teen now, what do you think in talks with other kids your age or teens your age? What do you think they want to see in tournaments?
Just anything or just rules wise?
Just rule wise. Or what do you like to see?
I think they should have more open rules for nogi, like more arm in chokes and more like straight ankle locks.
Yeah, IBJJF. That's the one thing.
For kids, you want more of the guillotines and the anacondas and stuff like that for kids.
Yeah, because Naga, they're pretty open. Grappling industry is pretty open. Yeah, a lot of the rules.
Okay.
So that's fun, especially kids at that age, 13, 12 years old.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's more like...
Well, when I was a kid, I didn't start competing in Gustavo's tournaments till I was maybe an orange belt. And I competed in like Desert Quest. I don't know if you remember Desert Quest. Do you remember that? Because Roland Saria had these tournaments. It was like, basically you show up and you get matched up. And like, no, it's like that. And I didn't win my first like 11 tournaments. It was crazy. I was really... I didn't think I was that good. And I remember I was allowed to do guillotines, and it was not even a problem. It was. I remember one of the first fights I won was by guillotine, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's my choke now. I won a fight. You know, I finally did it. I won a fight, and I did a choke." So it's like that was like my third tournament. I fought a kid named what was his name? His name was Ryan. He doesn't train anymore, I don't think, but he did back then. He got choked.
Yeah, that day.
Choked.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, I know he likes
good idea.
Playing. He likes omoplatas a lot. He loves playing omoplatas, and even that video I said there's a sick omoplata that he hit in the video that I posted yesterday. And our men chokes because here the kids here we teach them like you can do this only when we say you can do this.
For sure, yeah. And that's a kind of fine line you have to draw that I guess is a little hard to gauge sometimes.
Yeah, especially like because when do you teach the kid to defend it? They have no idea. Like,
for sure.
Defend a guillotine, they're like, well, okay, I don't know what this is, but the next thing you know, they're asleep.
And that's the thing. So Andre and my professor Andre and I were having this conversation the other day about toe holds. And knee bars. So when Andre was competing as a blue belt, toe holds and knee bars, you could reap the knee and throw a toe hold on top of it. And I have been catching a submission in tournament lately. It's just you get under the leg, you put the foot on the hip so as to avoid the reap, and then I go for a toe hold, and I am able to finish the toe hold but it's in theory it's not supposed to work because you can put your foot on the mat. You're not getting your knee reaped, so you're not getting your knee as torqued as you could be getting, right? So it should be in theory all you have to do is grab either control a sleeve or you can funnel your hand under their leg and prevent them from getting a toe hold or a knee bar. But I've been catching it because I just have a good feeling for it. And these people also are not defending it the correct way because they haven't seen it. If you think about it, you're learning toe holds maybe midway through purple belt average. Whereas when Andre was competing as a blue belt, you're learning it when he was a kid. Like it was legal. He was out a lot before you turn blue belt. You got to learn this toe hold, you know. And reaping was cool too. So I was like, hey, the way I think that there is some truth to you have to be exposed to it, something like that a little earlier. And I think that the rules in play to keep people safe.
Yeah,
because there are, you know, I mean, you can get hurt really badly. I mean, I have when I fought Roberto, I messed up my foot real bad.
Yeah,
and that was because of a toe hold and because I didn't defend it properly. I'm not saying that was because I didn't learn it because I've known toe holds since I was a green belt when I was doing MMA. But I feel much more comfortable knowing them now than when I was a first brown belt. So imagine if you're teaching kids just the dangers and how to defend them. And let's say tournaments allowed it. Let's say IBJJF allowed toe holds for blue belts again. I think it would drastically change how people approach that submission because you would have a lot more time to become comfortable in it. And you see that, like, man, you see Andy Murasaki as a blue belt is pulling off toe holds on brown belts. You're like, man, this kid knows.
He's done it for a while.
And that's the thing is a blue belt doing a brown belt level toe hold.
Yeah, like you teach your white belts, your adult white belts, you teach them how to wrist lock, even though a lot of times, like, yeah, no, there's some that you can, but yeah,
for sure.
Wrist lock's a legit move that, like, even as a white belt, like, he teaches you right away, like, don't put your hands there. Or don't do this.
for sure.
Like,
I love wrist locks.
Wrist locks, straight ankle locks. I think that's all. And I think for, he got his wrist broken. Like, Alex Jr. wrist locked him. And you forget.
I knew I didn't like him. I'm just kidding.
Of all the things, it's so funny. And, but he's been learning wrist locks and, and straight ankles for a while. And all these, because, he's learned some basics. He's good at basics. He's got some fundamentals. Okay, let's add a little bit,
I think
more
that
to it.
A lot of times, like the thought process I have with it, that like the roadblock I run into with teaching wrist locks and stuff like that before they're due is there's more like if it's not something you're allowed to do, mix it in every now and again. But there's also much more important stuff to go over sometimes. Like, man, if a kid can't escape from the back, but he can do a wrist lock, what if he gets his back to, like, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. There's more fundamental things to learn with jiu-jitsu that are very, very important that some people neglect for the sake of teaching things with like the intentions there. You have good intentions to teach them that move, but it's just not the right time to teach them that move.
Yeah. You'll spend too much time teaching that.
Yes.
Instead of like, hey, let's spend a week on getting out of side control.
Yeah.
In maybe a day and doing, barn ball or whatever. I mean, just as an example. And I totally agree. I love that. I love the fundamentals. I love, man, if you can't pass, you're not learning how to do. If you can't do hip escape correctly, you're
learning jiu-jitsu as a white belt every day.
Yeah.
Is I reference Andre constantly because Andre is a walking encyclopedia of jiu-jitsu, and he's just got a lot of wisdom when it comes to how he perceives life through jiu-jitsu. And he says that if he is learning a new technique, he's a white belt to the technique. Doesn't mean he's a white belt in general. He's a white belt to that technique. He doesn't know it. So why is he going to approach it like he knows it? That's a lot of people who are knowledgeable about jiu-jitsu and just what I found through my own teaching and me in general. This is not something that I'm just saying I don't do. Everything that I have said thus far in this podcast saying I don't do, I have done. I've made the mistakes that can hinder learning. But I mean, it's common as a human being. Like once you know jiu-jitsu, let's say you know jiu-jitsu, quote unquote, you're going to approach a move like, oh, I understand like I understand how my body is supposed to work for this move, so I'm just going to rush through it. Like, man, maybe you should really take a minute and appreciate every part of the move, really think about it, do it 20 times before you ask questions, stuff like that. The bread and butter of learning is just taking the time to really delve into it, let your body understand it, let yourself understand it. If you still don't understand it after like 30 reps, ask a question. Be like, okay, maybe I do it this way. Andre, come help me. Your coach, come help me. Whoever's your coach, doesn't matter. But that's how that's the biggest difference between me as a purple belt and me as a brown belt is I feel like I'm starting to think like I need to become a successful black belt. That's the kind of thing that I think I've made a big improvement on.
Yeah, I like I've mentioned it a few times where even though you know something, if someone teaches, if you sat here and we went over like, hey, your fundamental videos are awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I'd rather see that than a double berimbolo to the something.
And that's the whole
while the person's
premise.
staying still. Okay, great. But get out of mount first. You get the person off of mount.
For sure. And that's the whole premise that the Fundamental Fridays are based off of. I run Fundamental Friday. We post every Friday. We're supposed to post at 9 a.m. Every Friday without fail. Like I want to post for the last 34 or well now 31 or 32 weeks of the year. We're going to go over what we refer to in our curriculum, we just go over dominant positions. There's these positions you see yourself in a fight, and every jiu-jitsu fight, see yourself in a position. We just want to cover just basic ways to approach those. And we just want to give a fundamental look because, man, you do see the flying reverse frog mount or something. You're like, what is that? And some of it is obviously it works. Some of it obviously works, but it's like seeing fancy techniques all the time. How often are you going to be able to do
stars align,
some of those
kind of
techniques? Maybe you can. Maybe you'll find a feeling for it. There's techniques that I've taught to where like, hey man, it's like one of those things where it's there and then it's gone. So you got to take your opportunity. But I like to teach fundamentals a lot because I don't see it. No one teaches it. Even Bernardo Faria, beautiful BJJ Fanatics videos I love them so much. But sometimes like what you see on there is like, man, when would that happen though?
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw someone teach the worst ankle lock ever. Like I couldn't believe it, but it works for him. Like in my head, I was like, oh man, I would never do that. But for him, I've seen it work in competition. So I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah,
that's a lesson about jiu-jitsu in itself. Is that what works for me doesn't work for other people. What works for him,
yeah,
not work for me. You know,
it's. I like that. Brian and I were just talking about that too. Or I think with Junior too. One day, I forgot who I was. Oh, because Junior was teaching, and I was and my coaching is not, or teaching is not easy because you're trying to teach a person. Maybe not the exact way you were taught because you grasped it a certain way, but that person might not understand it that way. So you're trying, okay, how general can I be or to explain this move to this person who's the first time listening or hearing it or seeing this move, and how can I break it down for them basic enough to and I think that's why sticking with fundamentals is great because you learn off of that. You learn from from side control, like, I can put him in half guard from there. Like, in second control, I could do, I see the point now of this. I kind of see how this evolves to, it's A, B, C. Well, now it's like A-1, not A-2. It's like the whole, has a whole sequence of stuff from, and I like, when if we're going back to, you're teaching an armbar, all right, show me an armbar. I want to see how you do it because there's something different that you probably do that, oh, wow, I didn't learn it that way. And okay, you keep it. I like that. I like how you grab this. I like how you do this. And I love it when people, especially old school guys, come in to train. Like we had Hayes Yogo here and Carlson the same day, in teaching class. And there was like, man, that looks painful. And it's like 2 steps, what they're doing. It's like 1 or 2, like 1, 2, 3. It's like, wow, that's so much easier than to do all this other stuff. And it's like, wow, okay, that's great. I want to see how you do a black belt or a arm bar. Show me a choke from the back, or show me a straight ankle. Like that's way different than what I've seen. So I love it. I love that you're taking, or people show the fundamentals and stick with the fundamentals.
That's that's my game is based heavily on fundamentals. I do bear and bolt and stuff like that, and I do obviously like some lasso guard and I like to pass a lot more now. But I mean, the fundamentals have been so heavily hammered into my brain through Andre that I've realized its importance. And you're totally right about coaching being difficult. I feel like coaching in a video, especially a 1-minute video, it's brought its own challenges for me. That's implored me to think outside the box when I'm making the video. So for instance, yesterday I posted just a bump and roll from mount. That's it. Super like a bump and roll, trap the arm. And then after I made the video, I was like, man, teaching that to a white belt who already understands a little bit of the terminology and of how to use his body in jiu-jitsu is different to someone who, let's say that they started 2 months later than this person. I got to teach him in an entirely different way. You can teach that to somebody on their first day and they'll get it, but you have to teach it different. So what I mean by that is, let's say I get to know somebody a little bit. Let's say I know that they play football, right? And there's a position where I have to hold his arm with my elbow pinched to my body and I'm cupping his elbow. That looks, if you imagine it in your head, it could look like he's holding a football. Like, hey, I want you to hold his arm like you would hold a football. He's like, oh, okay, hold it like that. I immediately get him to relate something he's already done to jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And I think creating those connections is very important. That's something that I have learned from Andre, from Kiko France, who's another huge inspiration for me. He was a teacher alongside Andre at Power MMA. And they both do that. They get to know their students and they're able to relate something to you and make it feel personal. And that's not only a great teaching strategy, but it's also a good coaching trait to be able to make your students feel like you genuinely care about them, which you do. You're not just putting on a farce. You're actually developing relationships with the people around you. So as a coach on Instagram, I don't know everybody. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be able to make it appealing for everybody if I use a football analogy, because some people might be like, what the hell? I don't play football. Some people will follow me from Sweden. They're like, what the heck is football? And I try to make it just as universally understandable as possible. So that's why I just try to explain it exactly what's happening on screen. And then in the description, I'll try to put in like layman's terms what is happening in the video and what you should keep in mind if you're a little more advanced, what you should keep in mind if you're a little more basic, stuff like
That's
that.
a good point.
And it's a learning process. By week 17, I'm going to probably have improved so much that I might not even like the old videos anymore. You know what I mean? But like, man, look at me. Like, God, I look so dumb. Why did I say that right there? You know, I could have said this. And today, Cade with his dumb hair, man.
He's got that fro going, man.
It's so disgusting.
Fro nose.
Whenever I drill with him, we have to do drills that involve putting his head under my chin. I just feel his knot in my neck, and I'm like, God.
You know what you should do is hide stuff in your gi when you're rolling or drilling. You're like, what's in your hair? Like, what is this?
Is that a troll doll?
Yeah,
why don't you have this in your hair?
It's a Snickers bar. What's this doing in your hair?
Saving it for later. Yeah. No, he's getting made fun of at the gym pretty.
Is that like a thing?
It's
like he's
pretty
not
funny.
shaving it until like, or not cutting it until
He just wanted to grow it out. He just feels like growing it out, and I mean, a lot of respect to Cade. He can take a roast pretty well. He's been getting roasted steady for about a month and a half now, and he just takes it, you know. And then he can dish it back whenever he is in position to, and I told him, I was like, you know what, man, I don't even care anymore. Like, you're doing a good job rocking it, so just rock it. I don't like the man bun though. I think the man bun looks a little dumb. I know
I don't think I've seen anything with the man bun with him yet.
He tied up his hair today, and he looks like a freaking, like his head looks like a bell.
He looks like that Will Ferrell movie when he has that bandana. He has a
Semi-pro
going.
Oh my gosh! Oh, now I'm not gonna be able to unsee that.
Put a headband going.
Oh, that is horrible. Andre's gonna be listening to this like, yo, man. Andre said this the other day. He said that on the video of the IBJJF live stream, Cade looked like a janitor walking by with a mop. And that was really funny. I was laughing pretty hard at that. Man.
Right on, man. So, dude, like always, it's we have a lot of fun when you come in, and it's
I have a
always
lot of
such
fun.
a good time just picking your brain, and it's never a dull moment. But you got some work. A couple more weeks, 2 more weeks.
Yeah, about 2 weeks. I think I'll compete Saturday, June 1st.
Okay, so the schedule's not out yet then. Okay.
No, I mean a pre-schedule, but the pre-schedule says the brown belts go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday. It's
Pick
like
your choice. Yeah,
make a pick.
Yeah.
All I know is Andre's gonna head out there first because we got Cade competing Thursday, Aurora competing Friday. It looks like, and then me competing Saturday is what we're thinking is gonna happen. So Andre will have one competitor per day. 3 gold medals. We're out there.
Oh,
and then we're
boy,
going to
man.
go eat Cali tacos. You ever had Cali tacos before?
A restaurant.
Yes. Well, a restaurant, kind of. Okay, so I want you to imagine my forearm, but stacked on top of itself, and that's a burrito.
Nice.
Brother, when I tell you this burrito is capable of capsizing a small pontoon boat, it is, bro. It is amazing. It's fantastic. Like anything that makes me this excited is fantastic. It's got like chicken and beef and rice and cheese and sour cream and guac and French fries and more beef in it. Man, it's like a meat tornado. It's two tortillas to wrap it. You have to wrap it in 2 tortillas, otherwise it doesn't work. And then I think you have to use like another tortilla, actually. You have to use 3. Dude, it's nuts.
That Cali what? Cali what?
Cali tacos. It's the angel burrito. It's $14, but it'll feed you for 2 meals.
Grief, dude.
It'll feed you for 2 meals, though. It's like you're buying like go there instead of the grocery store.
Good grief, man. Well, dude, I hope I really hope you eat 2 of those because you're with the gold medal around you, and
I won't be able to finish 2 of them, but I will get the gold medal. I think I have a higher chance of getting a gold medal at Worlds than I do finishing 2 of those burritos. I'm be honest with you.
But like always, man, a lot of fun. While following you, keep at it, and hopefully everybody keep track of it, man. Any shout outs?
Shout outs to Maracaba BJJ because we are doing great things. I've been approached by sponsors and stuff like that, but nothing's worked out, and it's just made me so much more appreciative of the fact that I can don my coach's gi in all the tournaments that I'm going to. I'm just so appreciative of my professor and of my parents. My parents are constantly in support of me day in, day out. Thank you, Chillfit Cryo, I know I haven't been there in a while, but I really, it's just because I've just been tired and I've been at the gym training.
That's why you need to go.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, bro. I'm not a smart human being. I said it like 4 times. Pay attention to your own pod. You probably have to listen to it again and send me a message. And then also thank you to Leo Optics for the cool sunshades that are on the table right now.
That's right.
Go to leooptics.com and get yours. And then Loyal Ambition is a clothing brand that I have been in talks with, and they are awesome. They make amazing like t-shirts. They actually are like very original, and I really like it. They it's more modern style. You'd actually like one. I'm gonna get you a discount code.
Jiu-jitsu stuff or
no? It's not a jiu-jitsu
just
company. They're
everyday
just
stuff?
really nice clothing brand. Actually, I know the owners. I used to work with them, and I was like, hey, it's a cool t-shirt brand. And then I actually looked into it, and I was like, okay, wait, this is actually really nice. Like these are some nice t-shirts. So
yeah, definitely, man.
they're great, and shout outs to you guys. I mean, you guys have been so hospitable and very nice, and I mean, you guys are easy to talk to. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's very easy to come. Like if you guys wanted me to come on again next week, I would. And I would, if you guys ever like, oh man, our episode fell through, let's have Jake on again. I'd be like, let's go, let's do it. Next time, bring pizza. We'll just eat pizza.
You know what, man? We shouldn't have ate before our podcast. We should have gone to Sal's.
Man, should have gone to Sal's. I have to go to a dinner tonight.
Oh, okay.
Because I went to San Diego and I took my buddy since first grade. His name's Raheem, and I took him to go see a jiu-jitsu tournament. He's like, man, can I level with you for a second? I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, you didn't tell me so many beautiful women did jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
and I was
so
like,
all of a sudden,
I was like, oh yeah, I didn't, because I didn't think that women wouldn't do jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? He's like, dude. He's like, are all these girls Brazilian? And I'm like, a lot of them, yeah. A lot of them are Brazilian. Go say hi if you want. And then he's like, no, I don't speak Portuguese, man. You go say hi for me. And I'm like, no, you're weird. And he's like, all of a sudden talk about jiu-jitsu all the time. He's talking about, man, how much is it to sign up at your gym? I'm telling him. And he's like, oh, okay. He's in the Army Reserves, so he would have to come back and forth from deployment. And just like hearing him talk about jiu-jitsu now is so funny, because I knew it was going to take one tournament and he's going to automatically start talking about it. All the stuff,
the amazing things you see at jiu-jitsu tournaments, the fights, and that everybody has a draw, man. And for him, it was the girls.
Everybody has a draw. Hey, man, I'm not going to sit here and say that some of those IBJJF metal girls aren't really nice to look at. All I'm saying is they probably all have husbands.
Yeah.
And
they're probably the black belts over there right now.
Yeah. I hit on one time and I felt like so cool because I was speaking Portuguese and I was like, dang, I'm learning. And then all of a sudden I was like,
the best story. Okay. So before we cut out, one of our guys was metal girl for what tournament?
Hey, guys was a metal girl?
No. He was a metal. Golly, what tournament was that? It was the IBJJF one.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh wow, she's so pretty," and he's not trying to smooth talk her. Well, it was Lucas Leche's.
Oh dang!
Like, yeah, that's the wrong person.
Dang,
she'll kill you.
I asked a girl. I asked her if she had a boyfriend. I was like, "Oh, você tem namorado?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh, you speak English?" She's like, "Yes, I have a boyfriend, and yes, I speak English." And I was like, "Okay, good for you, awesome. See you around." And she was like, "Oh, thank you for being polite. Thank you." And then later she started hitting on me, and I was like,
"There's the start, man."
That's how it goes, baby. You gotta smooth talk them. But thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for the next time after I'm a IBJJF world champion. And you guys can ask me the next phase of Arizona drama. You guys can ask me whatever you want. I started going to karaoke, by the way, like I told you last time. I know last time you told me.
I remember you were posting some stuff too.
You told me, yeah. Well, okay, that wasn't really my choice. People were videotaping me.
Oh, okay.
Keep that on the down low. I'm secretly Duke Silver from Parks and Recreation. I'm just an undercover singer. I moonlight as a Subway singer.
Right on, man. All right, dude.
Thank you very much.
Well, absolutely, man. Again, man, wish you luck in a couple weeks, and we're gonna keep tabs out and eye on you guys and
Awesome.
eye on you, your teammates, and also too, guys, keep make sure you like, subscribe to the show, listen to it on iTunes, and if you already listen to it right now, and keep watching it on YouTube. We're getting a lot of YouTube videos up here pretty soon, so it'll be up on YouTube also too, the audio version
Awesome,
of the
cool.
podcast too.
Have you thought about doing like video?
Yes, that is. We've tampered with it, but played with it in the last with a couple episodes. We got a couple shots from here, and then when we get the studio built out, we have it laid out the way we're gonna have it with camera, and it's gonna be cool.
I
Actually,
can't
it's gonna be
wait.
really cool, man.
I
It's
can't
gonna
wait.
Be slick, dude.
That's
We
gonna
didn't
be
get too much.
slick.
We didn't even get into that though, but it's gonna be freaking pretty badass.
All
It's
right,
gonna be-
that's just a taste.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. So
cool. I can't
especially
wait.
with the stuff that we've been doing on the snippets of the little shorts and stuff like that too, and we'll get some good footage and
All right.
we got it. So
All right, and instead of weed, we can just eat pizza.
all day.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Nobody's gonna catch that Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That is random.
Just so you.
Yeah, that's Joe Rogan joke, guys. Jeez.
So yeah, I know. I can just hear the parents now. What is Coach Mark talking about?
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just kidding. No, they're cool. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you, Jake. Thank you again from
you so
Ryan and
much.
I. We'll see you soon.
All right.